Okay, guys, slightly earlier than planned. This is the Fife Property Market update for the week beginning the 21st of November to yesterday, the 27th of November. Why do we do this weekly roundup? Why do I do every single week? It gives you a good indication of where the property market is in consideration to whether you should be listing your property now, whether you should be waiting for later on, whether you should be offering on a property over the home report value, under the home report value, or round about the home report value. So this gives us a good indication about where you are, what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. Feel free to ask questions. More than happy to answer them, possibly live on air, if it's a relevant question to everybody else. Other than that, you could message me direct, or you could message it in the comments, and I could answer it offline. So I'm more than happy to answer questions about the Fife property market. Property market in general, to be honest, buy-to-let investments to be as well. I've been in this for 30 years for buy-to-let, so I know exactly what I'm doing. Luckily enough, I retired 16 years ago through buy-to-let from industry as a financial director. So I quite have a lot of good knowledge and expertise in these areas and in terms of property as well. Let's look at the Fife property market and where it is in the last week. Okay, so we'll look at the numbers here. This is the Cooper area. 8 properties came to market. 5 actually sold and went under offer. So supply is outstripping demand here. East Neuk, similar situation. Supply again outstripping demand. St Andrews, supply kind of same as demand. Leavenmouth 11 versus 10. Supply and demand kind of similar. Dunfermline, supply and demand again kind of similar. Glenrothes, supply outstripping demand. Kirkcaldy 28 versus 33. So the only one actually bucking the trend, and demand is outstripping supply. Overall, in the Fife area, 102 properties came to market through all the estate agents in the week, and 93 went under offer and sold. This is actually quite a good indicator, though. This actually tells you every day. So if you think about 102 properties came to market, and there's about a 30-day period in that time. Well, it's actually the 4 weeks. We're talking about a 4-week period or a 30-day period, whatever you want to call it. You're talking about more than just under 4 people every single day make a decision to buy and sell a house when you look at it like that. Now, that can actually move up to about 5 in peak period as well. So remember, every single day, 3 to 4 people are making a decision to buy and sell a house because there's 102 properties coming into market. There's 30 days on average in a month. Divide that by the number 102, and you're coming out round about 3.5 to 4 properties. It would obviously go up to 4 if it's 120, but it has been 120 the last 2 or 3 weeks past. So that gives us a good indication. So if you're waiting on your property sold and you're thinking, why is it no selling? Everybody's telling me this is a fast market. Everybody tells me everybody should be buying just now. There's horrendous prices getting offered for properties. Why is mine not selling? Well, take heart in the fact that every single day in Fife, 3 to 4 people make a decision to buy and sell a house. So hold out there, hold in there. It's just that the point of readiness for the person in your market just now. This is actually quite an interesting one as well, and I'll quickly talk about this one. A lot of people actually say, when their property comes onto market, they talk about the fact that, oh, well, I'll sell quick. Okay, so sell quick, but your motivation might be the fact that you don't have anywhere else to go. But don't worry, you can manage that and make sure you actually have a place to go and someone agrees to the terms of your conditions because they want your property so much. Also, the other one is as well, I always get this question all the time and I'll answer it, is, should I take a quick sale? Well, you've got to look at it this way. Sometimes the first offer is the best offer. And the reason for that is because it's not how long you've been in the market, it's how long your buyer's been in the market looking for a property. There's a lot of people actually still missing out on offers on property, maybe 4 or 5 times they're offering on property, and they're still not getting it as a result, which means the market is still extremely buoyant in the process. Actually, let's take a look quickly. I'm going to unshare my screen just now, and I'm going to share a different screen. Let you see where we are just now in terms of the property market. Let's see if I can grab this one just now. So this is, let's jump onto Zoopla. Zoopla. I'll share it in a minute. I'm going to jump onto Zoopla and tell you where we're at in terms of that. And we'll jump onto Zoopla. And I'll see if I can share this screen now. See if this is actually popping up. Yep, here we go. So hopefully you'll probably be able to see that window. Yep, we can see that. Now, this actually tells me where we are in terms of the market. So all we need to do here, and you can do this for yourself, is you type in Fife and click on that and search, and it'll tell you how many properties. This is 439 properties on the market for sale at this point in time available in Fife. Now, let me give you a good indicator about where we are just now in terms of supply and demand. At the peak of the market before the lockdown, there was 1,200 properties available throughout Fife for sale. The demand is all still there, and yet there's almost a third of the stock which was available through before pre-pandemic levels, and that was still a busy time as well. So it's going to be the case that you're still in a seller's market. Sellers still have the upper hand here, and you've got to understand that. So what does that mean to you? Possibly, you probably should be offering more than the home report value for a property. However, on occasion, there is unique opportunities. If you have the right negotiator on your side, we do negotiate for our sellers as well, for them buying a property with another agent and tell them exactly what to do. That's one of the unique features of using us in that process. We tell them what to do and what to offer and how to offer it, how to say it as well with the other agent in order to find out from them where their seller is in that process without them actually knowing. Work that one out. That's why we're negotiators, and that's why people buy our services, for that reason. So it's not just about selling, it's about buying at the right price as well as selling at the right price to get the upside of the sales side and to get also the upside of the downside, which is actually a better price than you would have actually expected to pay yourself for the property you actually buy. So you win-win either side. That's one of the pluses. Okay, so let's stop sharing that screen. Let's jump back to the properties that actually went under offer in the week itself. Let me show you this. So we're onto the screen. Now, we tell you about this next, about the properties that actually went under offer on us. I'll tell you the ones that are coming on soon, actually, in the coming week with us as well, so watch out for them. And the reason I tell you, the reason why I tell you this is because it gives you a good indication about what is in demand just now and what type of conditions and circumstances we're getting for these types of properties. So this is in Upper Largo. This was Dunbarney Place in Upper Largo. This sold in 3 weeks, actually. It was a 2-bedroom semi-detached house. Now, the new owner is delighted with their first home, first-time buyer. But it really got a good price for it. They're really in high demand. And it's all about the circumstances as well. So the key here is they agreed to the entry date that they needed in order to fulfill their obligations. This is why it's a real good time for this time of year to actually consider putting your house in the market to get the best person. Remember, demand is still there. Supply is restricted. So this is a time when you put your house on the market, you can actually get buyers to agree to every condition you want, including entry dates, and sometimes even entry dates of 12 months from now. They will actually agree to it. They will actually put a deposit down, and then they would also conclude the missives as well, so they can't back out at the 11th month. So they're committed to doing it from the very beginning. And that's key here in that process about negotiating well for you to make sure you get the right house and to make sure you're not in a position where you don't have anywhere else to go. We have got people, we've heard about recently from other agents who actually don't have anywhere else to go, and they're actually thinking about, they've not even got the best rent and accommodation they've got either. So it's the key to get the right circumstances surrounding the offer as well as a good offer, and also get a good buyer's price as well when you buy your property. So Glebe Street in Leven sold in 6 days, 2-bedroom ground floor apartment. They're in big demand, predominantly because for downsizers, the ground floor, it's ideal because they've got all the accommodation. They don't need to navigate stairs anymore. So it's ideal for somebody that might want to downsize. They do get premium prices as a result because they have people downsizing. They've sold a big house with a huge amount of equity in it. So therefore, they're prepared to pay that wee bit more for a property. It's a lower apartment in order to get exactly what they want. And then they'll spend exactly what they want on it to get it to how they want it, because it's their last house that they want to go to, basically. Bodygate and Cooper, this sold in 3 weeks. A 4-bedroom upper apartment, added to their investment portfolio, and a new buy-to-let landlord. 1 week, Cellar Dyke sold. James Street in Pitt and Weem. James Street and Cellar Dyke, actually. This is sold in 1 week for a record price Other people missed out on this property, remember. This is a 4-bedroom townhouse with a 1-bed annex apartment out the back. New owners thrilled with their new home by the sea. Brayhead Road in Pittenweem, this is where the Pittenweem got mixed up with the Cellar Dyke, when somebody's obviously sent this through to me to update. So Brayhead Road in Pittenweem sold in 1 week, again for a record price for these types of properties. Other people missed out on this. This is a 2-bedroom, 7-detached house on a substantial corner plot. The great advantage of this was it was able to be extended out the side, because that is the stairway in the house. So you go in that front door and you go up the stairway. So the great thing about the stairway being there is if you do extend out here, then you can put a stairway right into this accommodation. You could possibly even have an integrated garage there as well as that back garden, the off-street parking, and it's literally 100 metres from the Fife Coastal Path, just round the corner, down at the bottom here and round the corner. So again, that's a good popular one just now for these types of properties in the East Neuk area. Carslogie Road in Cooper sold in 2 months. There you go. So everything doesn't sell all the time quickly every time. Sometimes it's all about the circumstances surrounding and actually the right price point for the owner or the seller to exit to get their next property. That's why this took a wee bit longer than usual. But the new owners are ecstatic with their new family home. Ideal location for them. So what's going to be coming soon? Let me talk about that just now. So coming soon the market. Watch out for St Andrews Road in Lower Largo. 3-bedroom end terrace house with countryside views. Skeeth Road and Cellar Dyke, 2-bedroom apartment. That's going to be coming soon as well. Bootree Brae in Lower Largo. If anybody's watching, they probably saw that pre-portal launch. A 4-bedroom detached house. A lot of interest in that already. So if you're looking for Bootree Brae in Lower Largo, please contact us immediately. You could miss out. This could get sold under the right conditions before it actually gets to any website at all from the social media channels. Remember to follow our social media channels. It's important that you do that. Now, why is it important that you follow these channels? Because if you're looking for your dream home, often other people are looking for a similar home to you. That's why it's your dream home, and that's why it's their dream home. They're in high demand, so you need to give yourself that advantage first, where you get in there before anyone else. Now, the way to do that through our channels is we always go to social media first before we actually go on a website. So you will see it on our social media pages live as we walk through the property beforehand. Now, it doesn't have all the full details because that's all getting put together, but it actually shows you exactly what it is and where it is. And often a decision can be made straight away from there because we do have the valuation already. It's just that we're waiting on everything else getting put together by all the relevant specialists in the process. And that's your golden opportunity to jump in if you're in a position to proceed and you can make the seller an offer they can't refuse before you get there. Now, the key to the social media channels for us is follow the channel in the area that you want, because we have social media platforms and channels in East Neuk, Levenmouth, Cooper, St Andrews, Glenrothes, Kirkcaldy, and Dunfermline. So you just look up Fife Properties, Dunfermline, Fife Properties Cooper, Fife Properties East Neuk, depending on what area you want, and you follow that channel. As I say to everybody else, you don't need to like it, just follow it, because then if you follow it, when we go live or post anything, you immediately get alerted of it, and that allows you to get in there before everyone else. 4 to 5 days before it goes to the websites, we put our properties on social media beforehand. They also go into Instagram as well, and sometimes they'll actually appear on LinkedIn as well as other platforms and channels. They will get sponsored out through various channels. They will go to an ad reach and go further afield as a result of that, therefore reaching the right target audience at the right time. That's why you need to be in there quicker, because other people can get there before you. And as I said, New Grange Crescent in Pittenweem is another one coming on. Now, I did a pre-portal on that on Friday as well. I think it was either Thursday or Friday. That's a 4-bedroom, semi-detached house, previously a 2-bedroom. It's actually been extended. It's a beautiful property. It's got stunning views out to the rear, and it's literally in a cul-de-sac, and it's round the corner from the local primary school as well. The kids, great family home. Kids can get up in the morning and literally 5 minutes round the corner, just walk round there, and they're at the primary school straight away. So ideal location for a family in Pittenweem is New Grange Crescent in Pittenweem. Okay, so let's talk about concluded. Why did I talk about the properties that we've concluded? Now, what I mean by concluded is the properties have actually settled, and we've actually got the final price now for it. So I can now tell you exactly what we achieved for these types of properties, and it gives you a really good indication about where the market is in that area and in terms of how much people are prepared to pay more than the actual home report value. So Main Street in Methil Hill, this is a 2-bedroom terraced house that actually sold in 2 months, and it actually sold for home report value. So in the Methil Hill area, around about home report value, maybe just a wee bit more if you're needing to offer, and that went for an investment property. Cash Fuse in Strathmiglo, 2-bedroom cottage. It sold in 2 weeks at closing date. Sold for 15%. Yep, 15% over the home report value. So that was another £23,000 extra. 4 other people missed out on these types of properties. So if you've got a 2-bedroom cottage in the Strathmiglo area, then we'll want to hear from you, especially if you're considering selling. Now, if you're considering selling in the new year, now's the time to actually talk to people about this, because it gives you all the preparatory advice in order to make sure you're in the position to actually get the right opportunity when it's available. You're not talking to us just now, possibly to put your house in the market. You're talking to us to get the advice pre-market, so you can get the right advice. Classic example is a lot of people sometimes stick a kitchen in, they stick a bathroom in, and you go around and you think, oh my God, it's not what you should have been doing. Or some people get us around beforehand and they say, well, I put a new kitchen in. To be honest, 9 times out of 10, I usually tell people, don't bother about the kitchen. Often someone will come in and they'll love to just put their own kitchen. They'll have to put their own stamp on the property. So often that usually happens. And same applies for bathrooms. So I would say usually, typically, the advice is if your kitchen and bathroom are usable, probably don't change them. Just make sure your house is nicely decorated and carpeted and fresh and inviting when someone walks in the door. But again, we've got good advice, good handouts as well, and good vlogs and blogs on our YouTube channel, which will give you the best advice in order to get the maximum opportunities available. So that's the 2-bedroom detached cottage, went for 15% over the home report value, and it equated to about 23,000 in Strathmiglo. Third part holdings in Anstruther, 2-bedroom detached house, that sold for 28% in the East Nuke over the home report value. That was £70,000 over. Other people missed out on this. So if you've got a similar type of property, maybe a property that's we've got land as well, golden opportunity to capitalise on that market and that demand just now. Wester House, the loan in Anstruther, that sold for 23% over the home report value, and that was 105,000 more. And 2 other people missed out on this property. So again, if you've got a property in the East Nuke area, you're getting 23 and 28% over the home report values for these types of properties, 5-bedroom and 2-bedroom detached cottages. Butchery Brae in Lower Largo, this was another Butchery Brae. It actually sold a 2-bedroom detached bungalow. It sold for 28% over the home report value. That was equated to £102,000 more for this type of property. So as I keep telling you, you've heard it there. So this gives you a good idea about what we're achieving more for our sellers than everyone else. Everybody tends to focus a lot, and I heard that today from someone said, I'm really just going to go for the cheapest agent. And I'm like, really? It's the cheapest agent is often the dearest in terms of fees, because if they get a better price for you and you take that off, you end up with more money in your pocket, if that makes sense. Some people just don't get it. But some people, the penny drops straight away, and they completely understand the return for using a proper negotiator and somebody can actually spend the time, and they're not there all the time trying to sell a property, because they're a volume agent and they're inundated with the amount of inquiries. Therefore, they can't pay any attention to yours. So when a buyer comes along to make an offer, they just immediately take it to you and say, do you want to accept or reject or ask for more money? And they leave the decision up to you, rather than actually, in our case, we actually negotiate on your behalf, because that's our job. So we negotiate on your behalf and get the best price for you, get the best return for you. And that's how you get figures like that. So 23%, 15%, 28%, 28% again. So often maybe 100,000 more for your property. And that's a property that's round about the 300 to 400,000 mark. So that's why people will use us for our services. Not everybody will get that, as I said. A couple of articles actually I spoke about during the week. Tax for landlords. So if you're a landlord or you're a property investor, if you're even considering being a property investor, this is probably one of the shows. So we've got the links in here to our website. It actually goes onto the show as well. So you can actually read the article. It takes you 4 minutes in any case. But you can actually watch the show. which is an hour, but also the podcast, which is similar. It's just the voice on the audio on the show. So the podcast you can listen to at your own leisure in your car or anything, or when you're doing your work during the day. The reason that we talk about tax for landlords, it's all about allowances to claim, efficient expenditure, and easier accounting in the process for investment property. And if you're considering actually investing for the future and for your future, even if it's a small amount, some of these shows are actually very beneficial in watching for that reason, because I give a lot of good information away. James was on there as well, who was one of our investors that invests with us. And I mean investor as in he's hands off. He gives it to us. He lets us manage it. Landlords tend to want to do it themselves. And if you want to do it yourselves, well, good luck, because there's 50 pieces of legislation or more to contend with now in the buy-to-let market. And you have to know every single one of them. And we've now come into fruition that a lot of landlords actually don't understand, or they don't know what they don't know. And that's the most important point about using a managing agent. Managing agent typically costs you price a cup of coffee every single day to look after your property, while you can go about doing your own business and getting on what you're doing, and you don't have any of the hassle involved in the process. The other one as well is actually we covered how could lifetime deposits change in the Fife rental market. Now, lifetime deposits are actually being considered in England. So we decided to talk about if lifetime deposits were maybe considered in Scotland, how would that affect our market? Because you have to be prepared for these types of things. So again, this is a buy-to-let show for this. And so we talked about the Renter Reform Bill in England, how the lifetime deposits would affect us up here if it was instigated, but all the benefits we have up here as opposed to what the English market in terms of housing. You've got to understand as well, the English market and the Scottish market are two different pieces of housing legislation. We have the Housing Scotland Act, and they also have the Housing Act. So we have two different pieces of legislation. Our buying system is completely different as well. Our selling system is completely different as well than what the English market is. So it's quite interesting to actually look at this from a Scottish point of view, and how that would help us, or if it would hinder us, or if it would not. If you're actually considering being a landlord again in Scotland, you need to know this information. And we actually talk about some of the key information that you'd want to know. Interestingly enough, the average deposit for a Fife rented home is over £1,000. Wow. How could anybody afford £1,000 deposit? This is why they're talking about lifetime deposits, so it could transfer from one landlord to the other. And I actually briefly covered on it, because I used to do it a lot of the times with existing landlords we knew in the area who had the deposit until the new deposit scheme went into place, the custodial scheme. We used to just transfer deposits from one landlord to another, because we knew each other and we trusted each other in the process, to allow the mobility of one tenant to the other without having to then save up another deposit to get for the next landlord, which made it entirely impossible for them to move. So it talks about that, and also the number of deposits for tenants in Fife so far is over £16 million in deposits. Now, they're all held in custodial schemes. If you're a tenant just now and your deposit is not held in a government-approved custodial scheme, your landlord shouldn't be holding it anymore, by the way. If your landlord's got the money, they shouldn't have that anymore. It should be in a custodial government-approved scheme. So it's, in other words, it's protected. So if anything goes wrong, the landlord loses the house or anything like that, your deposit is actually protected in the process. And your rent is actually protected as well through letting agents, because we also have client money protection now. So we have to have individual client accounts, which if anything happens to the letting agent, then that client account, your rent and everything else is protected in that process. And the total value of privately rented homes in Fife is over £3 billion. Wow. And then also talk about what are my thoughts on the lifetime deposits for the Fife market, and also right across Britain, to be honest, and right across Scotland. That's the important points. Okay, so just to final up on this, we have the instant valuation tool on here again. I always talk about this every single week, but for people that are new to here, the instant valuation tool gives you an exact valuation of what your property should be in terms of the value. Now, it gives you a value based on historical information, so it can be just out of date. just out of date because it's historical information, because that's where it gathers all its information together. But we can firm up on that and tell you what it is in today's terms with that slight adjustment. And also, if your property is quite unique as well, it then allows us to then just adjust for the uniqueness of your property to give you a better, more quality and accurate valuation than you'd thought of before. So you can actually go into there and click on it at your own leisure. You can just put your details in, you get the instant valuation. It tells you a rental valuation if you want. It also tells you a sales valuation if you want, but it doesn't tell you the market value. Market value, as I said, is what we are achieving just now. That's the 15, the 28, the 23% more than the home report value. So home report value is what the instant valuation tool will probably give you, but the market value is completely different. It is a lot more based on what we're talking about. And demand is always still rising just now. Everybody thinks that the market, just as I finish off here, everybody thinks the market should be slowing down just now. And looking at these numbers, yes, the market does slow down, but it doesn't slow down in terms of the number of buyers out there because they're still out there. It slows down because we're darker at nights. So what happens is when it gets to about 3 o'clock, then you can't view anymore because it's literally getting dark. So a lot of people actually can't view. And instead of being daily viewings, you tend to find buyers now view week to week instead. So the market slows down in terms of activity because of the viewing process taking a lot longer to book someone in to be able to see your house in the daylight. There's no point in going and looking at a house in the middle of the night, because then if you go to the back garden, you'll see nothing. And you get no feel for what it's like during the day, which is a completely different thing as to night and day. Well, it's like night and day, isn't it? Excuse the pun. But literally, that's what it's like. It's like night and day. So that's why you would always view during the day, because the night's not going to really tell you anything. Fair enough, you'll get to see inside the property, but you'll not really get to see it in the daylight. You'll not get to see the natural light that comes in through the windows as well. So then it gives you a good idea about how bright the room's going to be during the day. So that's why the market slows down at this time of year, because it gets darker. It's not because the demand is not there. It's just because it gets darker. And a lot of people misconceive this and think the market's slowing down. And then they think, I shouldn't put my house on the market just now. I should wait till next year. Now, let me help you with that. Why would I be telling you this just now? Because often, if everybody waits till next year, then next year has a bit of uncertainty, because obviously interest rates are probably predicted to go up, because that could affect the market. Inflation will go up even more. So that's why we think interest rates will go up. So next year could be a different market, even 3 or 4 months from now. But also next year, if everybody else is sitting waiting to put their house in the market next year, then you'll have a flood of properties coming onto market, and you'll have a similar demand. But if you've got a huge flood of properties coming onto market and the demand there, therefore you're competing against a lot more properties. Therefore, you're less likely to get the terms of conditions you want. You might get the price you want, but you might not get the entry date you want, because people will say, well, I'm wanting it in 4 weeks, I'm wanting it in 6 weeks. And if that's not the case, I'll just go and buy another one. Whereas just now, if you put it on the now, there's not that much to buy. We've seen that there, 439 properties right through the whole of Fife. So there's not that much to buy. So if you turn around to say to someone, well, you're going to have to agree to my entry date of 6 months, and they'll go, they can't exactly go, well, I've got somewhere else to go, I'll just go and buy something else. They're kind of stuck. So in order for them to have certainty, sometimes on the most occasions, they'll actually agree to that entry date as a result of the conditions. And then what we'll do is you make sure the missives are concluded, and you make sure it's set in stone so they can't back out. And that's what house builders do. If you've anybody's been in with a new house builder before, what you'll find when you get involved with a house builder is when you commit the £500, for example, for the deposit, then what happens out of that is the house builder then says, okay, you've committed to that, you've made your offer, we made your counter offer, we now want you to conclude missives in 6 to 8 weeks. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, why the rush? Because they want certainty as well. So a lot of people are used to that sort of system. Therefore, that's a perfect opportunity for you to capitalize on it right now because of the same circumstances. So you've got a golden opportunity as a seller out there to take advantage of this market just now, because of the demand that's available in the market and the fact that there's so much restriction still in supply, the 439 properties throughout Fife for sale. Even though there's a lot of properties coming to market, well, there's not that much in comparison to previous weeks. Even though there seems that is a lot and there's not enough getting bought, that's only a lag because of the viewing times. and the amount of time available to view now because of the late nights and it getting darker beforehand. So if you need any further clarification or you need any other information on that, please feel free to message me on this post. You can contact any other offices as well. You can email me at jim@fifeproperties.co.uk. I'm more than happy to touch base with you and give you the best advice in order to get the best circumstances to hit the ground running for you. The Boxing Day bounce is coming. This is when on Boxing Day, everybody jumps onto the websites and they start looking at property to buy and property to rent. And the spike goes up 231%. Imagine that, 231%. If you've got your house prepped and ready to be advertised before the Boxing Day bounce, just to hit that and capitalize on that market, you can command any price at the end of this and when it comes into January, because you do the do not disturb campaign. In other words, we take the inquiries, we'll line people up, we'll qualify them in the process, make sure they're in a position to proceed, make sure the right circumstances, and make sure they can afford your property in the beginning. Once we've got them qualified, then we bring them in the door after New Year. That's when they get to see the property, only the qualified ones. The ones that will actually be able to actually afford your house, not the ones that just want to kick tires and walk around properties and have ideas about what they would like to buy, because they're not in a position to proceed. So we take the proper people around, the qualified buyers around, and that gives you the best chance of getting the best price because all the demand is there when the Boxing Day bounce comes. And it literally is a 231% spike on the Boxing Day, and it just booms after that in terms of activity on the websites, and that's the time to take advantage. That's possibly why you want to actually list now in order to take advantage of that market. But any other questions, please feel free to message me on this post, and I'll get back to you. And until next week, guys, I'm Jim Parker for Fife Properties TV.